impromptu share, I kept hearing historical context and how valuable it can be to look at historical patterns. You can connect that to astrological patterns when you're looking back through ages and different timelines. Um, Thousands of years we could go back, and there's a through line for this share. It's like hashing out just ideas that I receive, and or ideations around our evolution and our survival, and how we are witnessing mass extinction, uh, forced. It's not a natural disaster. This is humans killing one another or unaliving one another. Um, but then when I use the expression mass extinction, I think of our awareness of, hey, Millie. I think of, the dinosaurs, or our awareness of different civilizations um, dying out, and how not to be alarmist or fearful, but that we are, ooh, beautiful. Oh, grand rising. Hey, welcoming the sun. So beautiful. Happy to be here with you. Okay, so the historical context and how it gives us a broader understanding of an unfolding of our current history and the patterns that we're still acting out via collective shadow, and the expression of that shadow being greed, violence, hoarding. And the way I'm feeling into it, and that come through a few different uh kind of tracing of thought and via information. So we're in this mass extinction, and you can see it as an expansion, contraction, creation, destruction, the ongoing paradox of our existence. And how the mass extinction is all at once. Like, it's like when we've gone through a Great Depression, creativity surges, communities and new communities and innovative communities can surge. So we're having all at once a lot of innovative energy coming for us and coming through us. I refer to it as new paradigm communities, that are focused on healing, that are focused on connecting to the land and earth, and ultimately being of service to looking after, like being a custodian or a guardian of the earth, connecting to the tribes and the peoples that are and always have been those custodians, in connection to planetary cycles. We are cyclical beings, infinitely and eternally. So returning to that deeper nature with a recognition of our light and dark and our polarities. So the mass extinction is also the trigger points for mass healing. It's like being between a rock and a hard place, that whether we choose it or whether a series of events unfolds for us to inevitably have to choose it, the awakening is inevitable via the nature of expansion, the nature of, infinitely expanding universes, and the evolutionary impulse of existence itself. So the mass extinction prompts for innovative and mass healing, and then that kind of creates almost like a flipping of the paradigm, and a siphoning of the energy in reverse. Thus, the expression I used was corporate implosion. So, blessed be and to compassion for all, and yet those in alignment with greed and this weird, incessant and endless capitalism. The idea of it is, from my limited understanding, but like infinite growth. Like you just keep making money, you keep growing, you keep selling, and yet we live on a finite planet in the earthly realms. So it's like fucked. It's not real, based in the cycles of the planet or for the well-being of a greater whole. So it's almost like that entity as a structure that has all at once traumatized the humanity, but also fed the greed loop. That mass extinction, although perpetuated by corporate greed, there's also like the loop back where that entity in and of itself implodes. Like you can see the extremist mentality or radicalism sort of triggering itself and really harming its own self. This is where our ability to become peaceful, to live in our integrity, to have a greater understanding of our own energetics and quantum fusion with the totality of all creation through the multiverse is like a pathway to our own personal evolution, but then that's the evolution of the whole, all the people we come into contact with in our physical and sort of more quantum dimensional. I'm just spinning words, but like I'm thinking of the internet and how it's a bridge into our quantum interconnectivity, and that we share spaces on the internet to, I guess, offer ourselves connection, also creative expression. So that is fueling the innovative, higher dimensional timeline. And then, okay, so I'm going to stick to the notes. So the corporate implosion, and this could be decades or this could be centuries, this could be hundreds of years that we're talking about in the future. And this is also the key to our liberation through contrast, right? So seeing with our eyes the radical oppressive tactics of our own cultural greed and ignorance, that is all at once looping to reflect a kind of stimuli for liberation, a desire for unified, i.e., no one is free as long as others are oppressed, that kind of thing. So our impulse for liberation is part of the awakening, and then that's sort of a simultaneity of the implosion, of corporate implosion, because our personal liberation has nothing to do with greed and manipulation and control. It's self-awareness, but self-awareness through love holds everybody in that same container of freedom. It's like the Christ consciousness kind of vibe. So the liberation is the new directive, hence the paradigm shift, and moving into what people refer to as a golden age, but it's just a shifting of ages, a shifting of timeline, an awakening of Earth herself into this sort of healing regenesis, which, I'm just a human pondering thought and feeling. So again, I've often thought of it as looking like communities, like new paradigm communities coming together for collaboration, growing food, returning to the earth, teaching, learning, a lot easier kind of life, easier in as far as we're not chasing this constant consumerist disease. We're not chasing these externals anymore. We're focused on the healing, on the restoring as well. So there's a need for more rest which also supports authentic creativity and restoration. And then through these kind of constellations, we will have DNA upgrades, which we're already having, we'll continue to have. You think about one in the whole, so the corporate implosion of a certain frequency kind of dying out. Those would be considered, I guess, lower timelines or more base impulses of like the reptilian brain versus a more integrated whole, which would be more like lots of people that we might consider like Buddha prophets and messengers and sages and mystics and healers, like you could say kind of just being more the norm of our common humanity. I've had different people reflect back, like having visions, having angels come and talk to them, either in their waking dream state or in their dream state. I've heard other practitioners talk about this. Some of us will have experienced just through alchemical healing or shadow work this DNA upgrade, which is a shifting in the old paradigm perception of the function of the DNA, and then also the ability of how we're able to change our genetic coding through consciousness, right? Like through our awareness to this infinite divine realm. Yeah, DNA upgrades via love's wisdom. So if there's an interpretation of a historical context of which we fell from grace, it's simply return to grace. That's my 2 cents for today. I do endeavor to avoid comments. There was a time I used to record and go streaming live a lot, like every day, and I found it just eventually a little distracting because of the trolls on the internet. But I respect you all, and I appreciate all of you showing up here. And I really appreciate likes and comments and people who engage. I tend to read all the comments. I don't like them all. If I feel like there's some meanness there, or like just, yeah, like people attacking myself, or, I mean, really, when it's coming from self, that's more to do with the person commenting. But when you're sensitive, you can often feel that energy, and it's not particularly nice. So yeah, oh, brilliant. Thanks, Millie. I appreciate you. I just sometimes I get that strong impulse where like stuff's coming up and I just kind of want to hash out some thoughts. And I'm meditating a lot more and dropping into sort of deeper stillness and nature and quiet. So thank you for being here. Thank you for your likes, your shares, your subscribes. Hi, Stinson. Nice to see you. Hey, Vancouver. I studied in Vancouver. I went to the University of British Columbia before traveling to the UK. All guided by a paradigm shift 20 plus years ago. So what is life? I don't know. Yeah, UBC. It's been such a long journey now. I yeah, endeavor to share some insights, but a lot of my own egoic delusions of grandiosity, I think, have been shattered. And I'm, yeah, just endeavoring to live more in the present moment. I don't know anything, but I endeavor to listen to the intuition and just share when I'm guided to share. So it's great to be here with you guys. I appreciate every single one of you. I have so much love in my heart for a better world, for as many people as possible, truly. And even the healing and redemption of those people who are committing acts of war, yeah, and violence. It's, the pain, the collective pain and shadow is immense. So may peace be with us all. It was way back in 2001. I attended the University of British Columbia when the Twin Towers fell. I was studying women's studies. All those years ago, my professor at the time, who was an Indian woman, and like many university profs, like connected to different institutional bodies, she quite quickly she spoke at a conference not too long after the Twin Towers fell, and she spoke about American foreign policy. And I can remember we had security at our classroom for the rest of the year, and she was getting death threats for speaking the truth. Fundamentally, it's one of those aspects of intelligence where we're able to hold space for discernment and nuance. That shining light into truth, it doesn't remove compassion for people who have lost their lives. Birth and death, it's very much a part of this earthly experience, isn't it? And that's why having compassion is so profound. Because it's like the duality. It's like having compassion for the duality of this existence. And certainly since my own awakenings, just dropping into my own heart and dealing with the pain that's there, often via what I witness in the world, and practicing peaceful practices and endeavoring through my entire adult life to resource money to survive here in my integrity. Ooh, baby, it's been a ride. Check out my book. It's true. Girl, you know it's true. Ooh, 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 I love you. That's me singing to myself. You were like, we're gonna end her. We're gonna close her down. Thanks for being here. Interesting fluctuations in viewership. But if any of you have been digging on the vibratories, check out my store. Everything, as far as I would hope and anticipate, everything I do with Ultra Love is in total alignment with the brand. I collaborate with T-Mail. Everything's sustainably sourced. Even the packaging is all zero waste. I have a course. There's 4 Be the Change online courses. Unplug for freedom. I'm increasingly having to talk about unplugging from social media. Milli Vanilli. Remember Milli Vanilli? What's another one? Is that the same song I was singing? Anyway, check out the T-Mail store. There's water bottles, and I think the mug is still there, but the notebook, I'm running through my notebook pretty quickly. And a bunch of hoodies and sweatshirts, all designed by myself in T-Mail. The Be the Change courses, Unplug for Freedom. Oh, gee whiz. Oh, thanks. That's so nice of you. It's been a long time ago. See, this is what would happen on the live shares. I would just start going off skis. And longtime internet friends, I think it was Kurt Mill who once was like, it's so funny because I'll be like, okay, bye guys, lots of love. And then I'll just keep talking. Sometimes because stuff comes up here. So it's interesting. Anger is the enemy. That's a really interesting noodle. Well, anger is energy that can be used. That's what self-awareness and ultimately a greater mastery is about. When we're triggered into anger, instead of acting out, endeavoring to hold space for self and transform the anger, catalyze the anger, look for deeper truth until there's compassion. There again is the directive into healing. To me, in the book I wrote, anger is a block to bliss. Anger is usually a defense mechanism that's hiding us from the potential for deeper healing. Very At times, I also see anger as a form of divine righteousness, and or I don't like the word righteousness, but more like divine protection. I have had probably two that I can think of where um, it's almost like another force taking over, where I'm one protecting myself, but also shining light. And I know that somebody would perceive it as ragey anger, but there's nuance. There's nuance and discernment. It was never acted out violently, but it was certainly expressed through the body. um, but when we're able to hold space for our anger, we're usually directed. You know, it can be a powerful catalyst for positive change. Yeah, totally. Yeah, temperance and transmutation, loving the light and the dark, 100%. Yeah, yeah. You know, there's another word that I heard somebody use once. I'm looking at Sunaju's comment around, I personally think hatred is the true enemy. Hatred, and another word is contempt. And I forget, some speaker just used it as like, there's this darker, more insidious energy around our contempt for one another, and how that can kind of breed a really nefarious outpouring. You can feel into it. You know, those of you that are sensitive, you can feel into it. Hatred is there's anger. Think of like anger brooding and not being able to be expressed and just brewing, and then you have contempt and resentment, and like you get those sort of snake like attachments and cords that kind of fuel vengeance and contemptuous energy, which for me, I think of some of the things going on in the world, and yes, the way hatred is expressed, and go deeper into some of the more like the broader nefarious activity of like organized crime, and think of like ringleadership of the like the deep, dark, and seedy energy that must be lingering in there to want to wipe out a whole people, for example. Like, that's dark, and it's, to me, bigger and darker than even hatred. It's like, yeah, contempt, and but then like team it up with righteousness. Team it up. That's why I don't like the word, because I think righteousness is like a same coin, different angle kind of thing of contempt and hatred and division. I'm righteous, you know, like my own righteousness is entitled privilege or something like this, or my way is better than your way, or I am righteous in my way of thinking, where it's like, but we're all like, yeah, we're all in this together, you know, we're navigating this human life, which is why I dip in and out. I see some of the nefarious dark stuff, and I tune into some of the love light hala golden age stuff, you know. I for most of my awakened life, I made that choice quite clearly within myself. Like, I can't go into the doom and gloom and we're just going to destroy ourselves and everything's always getting worse and worse. It's what, you know, wouldn't want to live this life if I didn't have faith in better days and a better timeline for humanity. When one being assumes a position of better than, they naturally start to categorize those whether they're better than as other. Naturally start to to be categorize those they believe they are better than as other right. And then you can start to trace and more deeply and compassionately understand how maybe people come to do the horrible things they do. There is the expression of shadow, unprocessed, unintegrated shadow. This is part of the what I was talking about earlier of the corporate implosion. It's going to destroy itself. Partly why more and more people are choosing peace and choosing healing, because it's like we don't want to be on a sinking ship. One analogy, and early days in my awakening, it was like on a speeding freight train that's headed for a cliff kind of thing. Like, jump off. Like, hence you would see mass extinction, but there's also another layer of like mass exodus, which we've been seeing for years and years, where people are not wanting to work for said corporations once they find out what's really going on. Okie dokie. We're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for being here. You go, oh my gee, thank you so much for that donation, boy. What a joyful, wonderful blessing. I feel so grateful. And really great to have some dialogue with you guys this morning. I just checked the time. I'm like, is it still morning hours? Yes, it is. I've been cooking. I made myself a little, cake vibratory. It's very nice. Loving it out. Holla! Nice to see you here, Scott. Take care, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Oh, thanks. I'm going to make a note of that. I had 2 book recommends before as well. The Egg by Andy Weir. Thanks, Synergis. I super dupes appreciate it. Yeah, I'm digging it. I got my nails done recently, and my nail technician gave me some book recommends. So because I'm doing all the things possible to not be on my phone as I'm on my phone. Have a great day, Millie. Enjoy the sunrise, my lover. Have a good day. I love you guys loads. Take care. Peace out.